Hi everyone! Today I wanted to talk about something quite serious. As probably many of you know, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and I wanted to talk about how sex is taught to us and perceived in society. And because of the obviously sensitive nature to this topic, I think I should give a content warning. I'm obviously going to be talking about sex and consent. I'm not going to go too much into assault. I'm going to share a personal story where sex almost happened, but I didn't want it, so it didn't happen. So that might be triggering, so just know that if you're sensitive around this topic, then proceed with caution. I just think this is so important to talk about because I remember when I was younger, when we had sex ed in school, I know that now kids are taught from early ages about consent and about the, like, I've talked about this before, that you shouldn't, you know, force a kid to hug you or forcefully just like hug and kiss a kid and stuff, because that really normalizes for the kid that it's okay that someone will touch you and, you know, try and show affection without you wanting it. I think it's so important that kids learn that early, and I know that kindergartens and stuff are focusing on it now, so that's really good, because what a kid learns from a very young age is going to follow them and they're going to think that this is normal. I saw a post on Instagram about how the feminine people in society are taught to be nice and taught to just kind of please everybody else, and the masculine people are not directly taught but kind of indirectly just learn that they get to kind of take what they want and they get to be aggressive and demanding, and how this is a really damaging thing for young people and kids to learn, and it needs to be broken because it's going to normalize people doing things to you that you don't want. I watch a lot of Jubilee videos and they have a few where virgins are talking about having sex for the first time, and several people in those videos have stories that either are assault or resemble assault because they have been pressured into having sex. People have had sex with their partner because their partner would have left them if they didn't. In general, a lot of peer pressure or pressure from a person. And of course, it's absolutely devastating that people have these experiences, because having sex should be a good experience, and it should be an experience that you do for yourself, and you should definitely enjoy it. If you don't want to do it, then you should not do it. Because what I wanted to say about how sex is portrayed in sex ed and stuff, I've talked about this before, but first of all, it's showed as always consensual. Well, it has a lot of issues because also there is a huge lack of representation, at least when I was growing up, although this is a few years ago obviously, but it was always very heteronormative and not a lot of diversity at all. So there's a lot that can be done here. But specifically today, I wanted to talk about the consent bit. It's always shown as two people who want to have sex. I remember, like, we saw, you know, animated shorts and stuff on people having sex, and it was always just super happy. Like, people just really wanted to. There was no communication. It was just an obvious, like, of course we're gonna have sex, and then they had sex and then they fell asleep or whatever. I really think that sex ed, even though I know this is uncomfortable, but like, get other people to do it. Get school nurses or whoever can do these things, which we did have those people come in, but as far as I can remember, there was just never any talk about communicating with the person that you want to have sex with or the people that you want to have sex with, because it is important to make sure that your partner enthusiastically consents to this sexual act. Because the, you know, cartoony short that I was talking about, that would show two like smiley, super happy people who were about to have sex. That's not necessarily what you're gonna see if you're gonna have sex with someone, especially if it's the first time. People might be really nervous. So just normalizing talking about it. It's not awkward. It's not stupid. It's not weird. It's hot. Okay? It's hot to make sure that your partner wants this. When you hear people talk about, you know, having sex for the first time, notice that I'm not using the term losing your virginity, because I don't like the term. I don't agree with it at all. Whenever I hear someone say it, I cringe because it's just so inaccurate. You're not losing anything. You're gaining an experience. You're not, you know, pure when you have your virginity and then you lost it, so then you're not pure anymore. Absolutely not. Losing your virginity, just saying it out loud makes me cringe. I don't like saying it at all. It's just not something I identify with. Obviously, if you like using the term, if it's something you're comfortable with describing yourself with, then of course that's fine. You can talk about yourself however you want. But to me at this point, I just associate it with slut shaming. It's just not a nice way to talk about it, I think, but you can do whatever you want. Is this better? Actually, it might be. Should have done that a long time ago. Maybe. Whenever I try to adjust the lighting as I'm filming and I look at it after, I'm like, why did I do that? Sex looks so different for everyone. It depends on, you know, what genitalia you have, what body parts you have, whether you're able-bodied, disabled. There's just so many different ways to have sex. This is something that really would be beneficial if we just learned that it's normal that we need to discuss it. It's not just something that you get together and you do with no talking. If anyone watches Squirmy and Grubs, they're an interabled couple. They talked about how they had a doctor ask them about their sex life and whether they needed, you know, any kind of like help or advice or anything at all. And they said that they had never had anyone ask them that before, and it's just so out of the ordinary to have that question. And it's kind of weird, and all, like, obviously if you have paid any kind of attention to the disability community, it's a huge thing that people consider disabled people to not be sexual beings, which of course they are. Obviously not all of them. Asexual people exist in all groups of people, but in general, you can't just assume that someone doesn't have sex because they're disabled or doesn't want to have sex because they're disabled. And I really think that medical professionals should show more initiative to talk about it with people. I do understand that this is difficult, but it shouldn't be. Like, if we just normalize it more, I think it will be a lot easier to talk about for everyone. Another YouTuber who has had this similar kind of issue is Witten, which if she didn't exist, I probably wouldn't feel comfortable enough to make this video because I mean, she's awesome. She talks a lot about sex and sexual health and all of that. She has ulcerative colitis and she had her colon taken out. She now has a stoma, and she obviously really wanted to ask the doctors about how it was going to affect her sex life, but she had just had major surgery, so she was first of all exhausted, and it was also kind of like hard to just ask. So her dad actually asked for her and had the nurse or doctor or whoever it was explain to her how it was going to be. I think that's amazing. But I do wonder why it's not actually talked about, because it's such a normal part of most people's lives that, I don't know, any kind of huge thing that happens to your body, it would be natural that you would kind of talk to people about that. But I guess it is something that you do need to ask about yourself. But this was also kind of a tangent. But still, if we're talking about what's lacking from sexual education, disability representation is definitely a huge one. So as an attempt to get back on track here, I just find it so sad that so many people go through having a difficult start to their sexual life because they're not taught communication. And I am not saying at all that if someone is the victim of actual sexual assault, that's not their fault. That's not their fault for not communicating that they didn't want it. Sexual assault is never the victim's fault, and I will not have anyone try and victim blame people. It's not your fault. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm trying to talk more about what could become sexual assault and like taking control of your sex life and who you want to have sex with and when you want to have sex and how you want to have sex and all of that kind of stuff, because I think that's, you know, kind of really important building blocks to avoiding sexual assault in society. This is kind of an important foundation, but it's not exactly what I'm talking about today, because that is a heavy topic that I think other people are way more skilled and qualified to talk about than I am. So I wanted to give an example of what young people might experience and what we need to prepare them for. I want to share an example of what people who haven't had sex yet might go through, and especially young people, I think this example applies to, but anyone who hasn't had sex, because there's no set age by which you need to start having sex. Society shouldn't care. Your friends shouldn't care. Your partner shouldn't care. It's something you can do for you, or you can choose not to do it. It doesn't matter to anyone else. Shouldn't matter to anyone else. This example is just something that I think would probably be more relevant for young people. And just to let you know, I'm now going to share a story of when I almost had sex, but I didn't because I didn't want to. This was not a negative experience. It's not a traumatizing experience, but know and respect your boundaries. And if you think you can be triggered by this, then you can absolutely leave here. That's fine. I was 14 and I was not one of those kids who were super mature for my age and thought about sex at all. To be real, I did not think about it. I knew it was something that I would do one day, but that day was not today. I was just not thinking about that yet. And the little thought I'd put into it was that I'm gonna do it with someone that I think it's gonna be a good experience with. Like, I need to know them, I need to be in a relationship with them, and you know, that's kind of my thought on it. And again, I don't think 14-year-olds should be having sex. I'm not trying to shame anyone, but I do not think that a 14-year-old can make that decision. I think you should wait. Well, the legal age in Norway is 16, but it's definitely 14 in some countries, but I think that's too young. I think you should definitely wait till you're 16, but it doesn't really matter what I think. I think people know when they're ready But I just think, I don't know, I just think people are too young at 14. It's kind of like you're still a child, and sex is serious. Even though it should be a good thing, it should be a positive and fun thing, it's serious. It can have permanent consequences, and I just don't think 14-year-olds should do it, especially when a lot of countries don't have proper guidance and proper sex ed, and a lot of people just get taught about abstinence as contraception. So yeah, that is another tangent. So yeah, I was 14. I was kind of an innocent kid. I didn't get in trouble. I just didn't do anything. I liked to hang out with my friends and, you know, play video games and just read books and stuff. My parents just didn't have a lot to worry about with me. Let's just say that. One thing that I liked to do with my friends was to go to the club, which it wasn't a club, it was like a after school club, but it wasn't an actual activity, it was just a place for people to hang out, I think to kind of prevent drug use and stuff. But my friend group was not in this like targeted audience at all, but we liked to hang out there and, you know, look at the boys. So yeah, I was a pretty chill kid, and I don't even know how this guy started talking to me, and I don't know how much older he was, maybe 2 or 3 years. Maybe I can see that on Facebook actually. Oh my god, this person has so many kids now. Okay, the person is 3 years older than me, which is quite significant when you're 14. That's enough that my older brother would have gone crazy, especially because one of us was old enough to have sex and the other one wasn't. That literally would have been considered illegal, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, they started talking to me. We like texted back and forth literally about nothing, like we did not know each other at all. So he asked if I wanted to come and watch a movie. Watch a movie was the term before Netflix and chill. If someone asked you to come and watch a movie, they wanted to have sex with you. But innocent little me, who wasn't that mature person who understood what this meant, I was like, oh, we're gonna watch a movie, it's gonna be so cozy. Oh my god. And one girl, I don't know how she found out that I was going to see him that night, but she was like, oh my god, he is a fuckboy. I'm gonna tell you all about him when we have recess. And I don't know, I didn't see him for the rest of the day, so I never got to hear about him. But I was also like, it's not your business. Like, why would you even care, you know? I wasn't in that headspace where I would even think about that much. I was like, well, we'll see. I'll make up my own mind about him. I don't need to hear your opinion, I'll see for myself. So I went to meet him. I met him at a gas station, super romantic. I didn't know anyone who lived where he lived, so I had no idea where anything was. So he went and met me there and walked me home to his place. We went into his room and started picking out a movie. We watched Pirates of the Caribbean 2, which is arguably not the best one, but I loved Pirates of the Caribbean back then, so I was like super excited, and we got into his bed. I think we were sitting up, but we hadn't gotten far into the movie before he started like, I don't know, cuddling. And at some point we ended up laying down. So we were, I guess, kind of spooning, but not really. And I remember I was lying on my back. Also, I had like dressed up in like my favorite clothes at the time because I was like, I'm gonna look so cute for this boy. Oh my god, the boy did not care at all. And then suddenly he started like rubbing my belly. I don't like, probably on top of my clothes first, but then he like slid his hand underneath, and he was like sliding his hand back and forth on my belly like this, and he was trying to move his hand further down, and I was like, what? It's so funny how looking back, I did not see it. I did not think that's what was going to happen, but obviously I was kind of prepared because people had told me beforehand that, oh, he just wants sex. But I wasn't actually like scared when I went there. I was just like, we'll see, because I know I'm not gonna have sex with him. And also like his mom was in the house, so it wasn't like he was home alone. It's not like I was out in the middle of nowhere. I was a 30-minute walk away from my house. I mean, I did have a cell phone. I could have just called someone and they could have picked me up, and I don't know. I didn't see it as a like unsafe situation at all, and I still don't think it was. But he started like sliding his hand down, trying to get, you know, get into my underwear, of course, and I was like, and nope. I didn't say anything because I thought it was awkward, but I just like pulled his hand up. So I think maybe he took a break from doing it, and then he started again. And at that point, I really wish that, you know, when I had pulled his hand up the first time, if we had just been more equipped, I guess, he could have either asked me like, do you want to have sex? Or I could have said, I don't want to have sex. Like a verbal thing would have been really helpful here, because we were literally just laying in a dark room in a bed watching a movie, and like me just moving his hand. When he, you know, lowered his hand again, I grabbed it and I kind of just like held it for the rest of the movie, or like I don't even know how long it was, but I literally, you know, held him tight. so that he couldn't. It must have been so awkward for him to like watch the rest of the movie and then like walk me halfway home because he couldn't be bothered to walk me the rest of the way. It must have been so awkward. I don't even remember if we like kissed or hugged or anything. Like, I don't remember how this went. I think maybe we held hands when we were walking, which is really weird because it was just so obvious that nothing was gonna happen between us. Like, this is not a thing. But like, we didn't talk about that at all. Like, we didn't talk about how, like, what had happened. But when I came home, he texted me and he was like, just so you know, I'm not gonna pressure you into doing something that you're not ready for. But he kind of phrased it in a way that like, hey, I'm not just after sex, but he so clearly was. So I literally messaged him back with one of those like winky faces, something along the lines of, I was prepared because people had told me, like, this is what people tell me about you. And he was like, what? Who said this? I don't think I told him who said it. I was like, I'm not gonna get into beef with these people. Like, I don't care. So yeah, needless to say, we're married and have kids now. Nothing happened between us. No romantic story there. I just think it's a very good example of what might happen. I think we need to be aware of what we do want. I think that if it feels right, it feels right. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you really need to like not do it, because it would suck if you did something and then regretted it. Again, I'm talking about a situation like this where the person is not trying by force to do something to you. I'm talking about a situation where you get to decide, and like, I decided that I didn't want it. I could have done it better by doing it verbally, but I guess I didn't need to really, because I made it obvious enough to the person and they stopped. And again, that story might sound, you know, a lot to some people. I am confident that the person didn't have bad intentions. Like, they didn't have intentions to actually do something that I didn't want. I didn't feel scared. I remember when I was holding his hand, I was like, I hope he's not trying to do it again, because I don't want this to get really awkward. Like, I was worried it was gonna get awkward. I wasn't worried they were gonna, you know, do anything to me, because I just didn't think they would. So yeah, I don't really know how to round up from here, but being better equipped to communicate your needs and your wants, and also just in general not feeling like sex is something that you need to do to be cool, to keep someone, to get someone. That's absolutely not true. That's not reality, and you don't need to do anything for anyone. No one can ask anything of you that you don't want to do. It's so incredibly important. Your body is amazing and it's yours, and you should treat it well. Other people should treat it well. Hopefully you'll always be in situations where you're comfortable communicating what you want and what you don't want. I don't even know what to title this video because this has been all over the place. I just kind of really wanted to talk about this topic because I think it's so important. I hope you took something away from today's video. I hope it's maybe been useful to you, or it can be useful to someone else. If you know anyone that could benefit from it, feel free to share it with them. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you when I see you. Keep it the good vibes. Bye!